So is it fair to always put the pressure and the blame on that number one quarterback? Is that fair?
Hey, it's a cold world. Bundle up.
Give me your initial thoughts on what you saw last week as Broncos hosted the Steelers.
I think it was a little bit uh, non-climactic. If I'm being honest, I think we were all ready to boo Russell Wilson for the things that had transpired the year prior to, and Justin Fields ended up coming in, and I think he's been able to kind of solidify that spot with Russell Wilson with his calf injury. And I thought going into Seattle as your first away game in a hostile environment that that was a pretty tough game. And Geno Smith has been proven he's a Pro Bowler. That organization has been together for at least a little bit, and so you kind of let that one slide. When you have Pittsburgh coming into your home opener in front of your home fans, I don't want to say that we laid a complete egg because I believe our defense is extremely stingy, but it's obvious that there is somewhat of a disconnect offensively between coaching and our star pupil. And I think there are some more underlying, you know, emotional entanglements that align with what that is. And I don't think currently, because that's what the NFL is week to week, there's always something different and things can change in a heartbeat in an NFL season. And I understand that. And we're only 2 games in. But I do think there also is something to the Saints are doing very well right now.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Saints with Clint Kubiak, who's the son of our former offensive coordinator when we played with the Denver Broncos and Gary Kubiak. I think the Saints have really shocked a lot of people as how they came out playing. But keep in mind, once upon a time, Clint Kubiak was in the Broncos organization under Nathaniel Hackett, being a part of the offense, but not having, I guess, the ability to put his fingerprint on it because, Justin Allen, another guy that Nathaniel Hackett spent some time with Green Bay Packers, took over. But it is interesting to watch what the Saints are doing. Do you ever say that to yourself, look around the league and say, well, I would like to see the Broncos do this and do that?
I don't know if it's necessarily something that it's obvious that there's something schematic. That part is obvious. But I think they just haven't gelled as a coaching staff and a team yet offensively. That is obvious. When you have the amount of rushing yards that you had, and the attempts, and you have the amount of attempts from Bo Nix in over 2 weeks and the amount of completions, there obviously is something, in the kitchen that needs to be recooked a little bit or marinated a different way. But I do think that you see the potential there, but in this day and age, there is a small window, and we see that with Bryce Young, number one overall pick. If you do not nurture these top 10, top 15 quarterbacks, and you throw them to the wolves, you know, I know we put on armor, but they're still human beings. And emotionally, I got 2 daughters, and my biggest mantra with my 2 daughters is that at the end of the day, I don't know everything, but I want you to be able to trust me. And when you look into your leader's eyes and see that he doesn't necessarily trust himself or trust the coaching staff, that could be a form of a rabbit hole.
So wait a minute. I mean, okay, there's a lot of young quarterbacks, and you brought up Bryce Young, who's going into his second year. How much of that the onus is on the quarterback himself, the supporting cast, the play calling, the coaching? Because usually when a guy fails and he is drafted in the first round, he's number one overall. No matter where he's drafted, if he's drafted in that first round, the top 10, everyone is expecting him to be Superman. But in all likelihood, he's not going to be able to do that. So is it fair to always put pressure and the blame on that number one quarterback. Is that fair?
Hey, it's a cold world. Bundle up.
Wait. So that is your only, I guess, justification is it's a cold world. Bundle up. Look, man, I know how difficult it is we both know how difficult it is to play in the league. But when you're playing the quarterback position, the rules are entirely different. And they go up when you're a guy that's drafted in the first round. Everyone is expecting you to go from Clark Kent to Superman. But it's hard when maybe you don't, in the case of Bryce Young. You can't tell me that Bryce Young has all the pieces around him. His number one receiver would probably be the number three or number four receiver on any other team in the league.
Shots fired.
So you telling
But
me
truth.
that's fair? Is that fair?
Um, you know, fair is not what the game is supposed to be, and life ain't fair. And there are certain outliers within any company, no matter where it is. And the outliers in the league right now are Patrick Mahomes and CJ Stroud. But at the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence is a high pick. They started 0-2. Lamar Jackson, he's a multiple time, MVP, 0-2. You are only as good as your last rep in the league. And I don't care how many, NIL deals go into effect or how many $50 million contracts, that will always be universal and a mainstay and a standard in the National Football League.
Wait. Come on, dog. Let me put this in the world that you're quite familiar with, right? So let's just say that you were, the top D lineman coming out of college, right? Whatever team drafted you in the first round. And in the first two games, you don't have a sack, you don't have a pressure. But oh, by the way, they didn't do a great job getting you two bookend edge rushers. They didn't do a great job putting another interior D lineman next to you. So know what that means for you? You're not going to be able to eat because the offensive line is going to be able to focus on you and limit what you can do. And that's what this is about. Yeah, I know life isn't fair, but at the same time, to me, you need that booking. You need that help. And if you're a quarterback, you need an offensive line that can protect you. You need wide receivers who can beat man coverage, or if not, find a soft spot in the zone, or dare I say, be able to catch the damn ball. So if those things are not in place, do you always put the onus on the quarterback?
I think that's why, the NFL or football is the greatest team sport to ever be invented. And I don't think there is enough credit for the right fit in the NFL and how things could just change your career. Because everyone has a certain skill set. And to go back to your question, can Bo Nix eventually put us in the driveway? And I'm not saying that he can or he can't because the sample size is too small. But ultimately, that is how this will be judged and scrutinized.
But well, wait, let's not tap dance around it. Yeah, I know it's only been two games, but we both seen something in the two games that can tell us whether we think that he can or can't. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, yes, I believe the kid can, but does he have all the necessary tools around him to help him do that? The answer to that question is no, he doesn't. All you have to do is watch the first two games and look at how the offense has performed thus far. But to deny that he has the ability to get you there, to me, anyone saying that he doesn't, to me, I would say, look, man, you need to go ahead and get your head examined. But you know what? I digress. I'll let you tell me from the two games that you've seen thus far, do you think, based off pure talent of what you're saying skill wise, can Bo Nix potentially get the team there if he has the right team around him?
Let's keep it a buck, Nick. When you need to do a double reverse flea flicker to get a long pass, that's a telltale sign.
Is that on him though? Is that solely on him?
I'm just not let's like
That's
you
solely on him.
I'm actually putting the ball in your court. I'm asking you, like, you were a defensive back. When you run a double reverse flea flicker to get a ball down the field in a completion, what is that saying to your offense?
That means that your offense is a little stagnant and you had to go with somewhat of a gadget, a gimmick play to get an explosive play. But let's not forget who actually threw the ball. So we know Bo Nix is capable of explosive plays. This particular play you're talking about proves it. Also, just look at what he did at Oregon. It's not that he can't throw the ball down the field. And I know right now, Bo Nix average pass is about 5 yards a pass. I think that's what his average pass is so far in the season. But he displayed, even on a trick play, that he still has the arm to drive the ball down the field. That part isn't on, not on him. That
He's
they
the
had
14th overall pick. If he can't throw the ball down the field, what is he even doing there? These are
Okay,
like
so that's what we should be talking about then. If we know he can throw the ball down the field, and we saw it on that gadget play, there should be more attempts downfield. In the game against the Steelers,
but he
Marvin
has to be able to stand, like he has to be able to stand in the pocket. And when I say I understand that the game is evolving, the pocket moves different than it did when we played. There's a lot more rollouts. There's a lot more, smoke
no,
screens and
man, what you're talking about is what we see from some of the more creative offenses around the league. On that particular play, Bo was outside the pocket. And what I'm seeing from that is that get him outside on the move. Get him outside on the move, get him on the perimeter, and allow him to throw the balls, those types of passes like he's throwing in college.
I don't think that that's a bad idea schematically, but I feel like the only time that he's getting outside of the pocket is when he's going to a second and third read and he's got to move around, he's got to scramble. That's him getting out of the pocket, but developing things that cater to his tool set, I do agree with that. But I feel like a lot of times he's out of the pocket, he's kind of running for his life.
Sometimes protection breaks down. And it's not just the Broncos, it's any other team. So, with that being said, run some plays to move the pocket. We know the pocket can move by its own, right? Based on the pressure and where it's coming from. But we've seen Bo have success when pockets break down. You go back to the Seattle game, 23 yards in the fourth quarter. He picks that up. On the right side, she scores a rushing touchdown doing what? Escaping outside the pocket on the perimeter. So what I'm seeing from that is like, ooh, wow.
But he's
This
not
is
Lamar
good.
Jackson, and he can't live like that. He
No,
can't
no,
live
okay.
like that.
Well, see, we're not talking about living like that. We're just saying, okay, well, if you need a spark, you need a play, he has that. And let's look around the league. Let's go back to your guy, Josh Allen, right?
Bro.
We can
You're
go
gonna
first.
stay off Josh Allen, bro. You like I'm telling you, I'm Buffalo homegrown now. Don't keep bringing Josh up like this now.
You didn't allow me to explain.
I don't even like their I don't like their aggressiveness. I don't like their aggressiveness. Don't you go ahead, put some
Listen, man.
respect on his name when you throw it out there.
See, I think you are hypersensitive in this charge. Anytime I say Josh Allen, your ears perk up. I think that's
I
what it
do.
is.
It does. It does.
Yes. So, but listen, what I'm going to say is this is a positive for Josh. Josh is very mobile. When things break down, when he can't hand the ball off to James Cook, this is one of the reasons James Cook is not on my
Call it what
fantasy
it
team.
is. The kid's a tank.
Yes. See, this is
Just
one of
like
the reasons James Cooks is not on my fantasy team because every time Buffalo gets inside the red zone, their big running back, which is the quarterback, is going to run
I know
against
you
the
wish you
touchdown.
had him last week. I know you wish you had him last week.
I sure do. I wish I did. But the point is, Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, they're allowing Josh Allen to be himself. If he's inside the red zone, out on the field, and the play breaks down, hey man, they're like, damn it, run the ball. It's the same thing that Andy Reid has done with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Too many times we have offensive coordinators who want to put quarterbacks in the box, right? And when I say box, figuratively and literally in the box. But the idea is take the handcuffs off. Joe Brady knows what he has in Josh Allen, and he's basically telling him, "Dude, go make it play." Same thing for Patrick Mahomes, "Dude, go make it play." Kyler Murray, go make it play. So when you look at Bo Nix, that should be the same thing. Go make it play. That's the idea of playing quarterback, is it not?
Hey, Kyler Murray might not be my type of guy. He was cooking last week. Oh,
And what? Why? Tell me why was he cooking?
whew.
Why was he cooking?
He was just being himself.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. You have to allow these quarterbacks to be themselves. I don't care if they're drafted in the first round or they Mr. Irrelevant. You got to let them be themselves.
Can you be yourself under the regime of Sean Payton as a quarterback?
See, that's $1 million question. It was a comparison to Drew Brees based on his arm. Well, if that's the case, let him skin it. Let
The
him put it out there.
the
We
irony,
haven't really seen that.
the irony is I think Bo Nix is like a taller Russell Wilson. That's the funny part.
You know
Like
what? People are not going to like that comp.
I think is a taller Russell Wilson, and I think he should mirror his game after a Russell Wilson because there was a time in Seattle that people don't remember. Like Russell Wilson was just dropping 60, 70-yard bombs. And then when he needed to get out of the pocket, he got out of the pocket and made throws on a run. And I think Bo Nix has that, potential to be that caliber of player, but just taller, bigger, and a stronger arm, truth be told, which is kind of funny in retrospect.
Even though I know a lot of individuals are not going to like that comparison based on Russell's time in Denver, but low key, I like that because I look at Bo as being like a Russell or some of the more mobile quarterbacks opposed to the comp of Drew Brees, right? And I know why most do that because when Bo was at Oregon, he stood in the pocket. But what you and I both know as defensive players, when you look at today's game plan, the quarterback position, man, you got to play outside the framework of the pocket. You have to be able to make those plays on the run because we know that that box that's around you with those offensive linemen, that's not going to be intact the entire time.
But that's the anomaly. That's the anomaly. We see it. We see the college game has matriculated and transitioned into the professional game, but the professional game are grown men. It's not the Pac-12. So when you put Caleb Williams in there and he's running around and he's looking like, man, I'm escaping the pocket, and he looks like Willie Beeman out there, but you're throwing picks. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes so special. He's not just that outlet isn't the same as it was in college, man. It just isn't. You're gonna throw picks. There's savages out there with kids, mortgages. Like this is different.
But most offensive coordinators and coaches, you like to think that they can adapt,
This
right?
is what this is what made Mike Shanahan such just a genius Hall of Fame. Did not know Mike Shanahan was not in the Hall of Fame, by the way, but insanity, insanity. But this is what made Mike Shanahan so great. He allowed you to be yourself with all his accolades, with all of his, aura. He allowed you to be yourself. He allowed you to use your best weapon, and he leaned into that best weapon. He didn't try to kind of make you into something that you weren't. Is Sean Payton cut from the same cloth?
I don't know. I mean, we get a chance to see it this week when they go on the road and face Tampa, and then they have to go on the road again when they face the Jets. So we get a chance to see it.
Let's look at what we have ahead of us as, Broncos country. You got in Tampa, in New York. New York Jets defense is no slouch. Tampa Bay's defense, no slouch, and apparently their offense is pretty damn well good too. If you go 0-4, coming back to Denver to face your divisional rival in the Raiders, which will be Alumni Day. Randy Gradishar is getting inducted into the Ring of Fame. Uh, that's not a great place to be. That's not a great place to be at 0-4. And right now, on paper, the probability of it is, it is always and will forever be any given Sunday. But on paper, It looks like a goose egg for the first quarter of the season, and that does not bode well.
No, it doesn't bode well. And it's interesting you bring up two things that are going to factor in after that Jets game because they do play the Raiders. Someone is going into the Ring of Fame. They're going to celebrate Steve Foley, who's going into the Ring of Fame, and Randy Gradishaw. The last time the Broncos did that, Mike Shanahan went into the Ring of Fame. They played against the Raiders and they lost that game. So these are all the things that are on the table. Hopefully, maybe the Broncos can steal the game against Tampa, a team that struggled offensively against the Detroit Lions. So maybe that's a game that the Broncos could steal. We will definitely see about that. It's so much to unpack and get into. We didn't even talk about the Broncos defense.
We can touch on it slightly, pause, but it, Vance Joseph's done a great job. Like I think Vance Joseph, and you've said this before, that he doesn't get enough credit. And we got some stingy players on that. Cooper's a pretty solid cat. Patrick Surtain is, arguably, if not, unanimously, best cornerback in the league. Like we're a stingy defense. We're gonna give some teams some issues. But again, emotionally, you can't keep putting your defense in a place to where you feel like you're not, getting points on the board from your offense. That will take a toll. That will take a toll.
It would definitely take a toll. So definitely keep it locked here. We're going to be breaking down everything football related, not just the Denver Broncos, as you saw that we went all across the NFL. We're going to break it all down, both me and my dude, Antwon Burton, aka Red. So keep it locked here.